In Europe, you can't do it. So I think it's crazy that we still allow it. Active skin repair will make sure that that helps. I always tell people to stay away from synthetic antibiotics. That's the last place you want to be using toxic products on.
Why would you not try the safer thing first?
I've heard in the non-toxic world, it's death by 1,000 cuts, right?
So let's go back a little bit with you. How did you get into this in the first place? How did you become interested in this space?
I actually wanted to go into documentary filmmaking, and my first job out of school was filming patients for biotech companies, pharmaceutical companies on their journey, usually dealing with really chronic diseases, cancers, stuff like that, and how the medicines helped them. And that brought me into healthcare. And so I really wanted to work on products that I could believe in, that I knew were helping patients and helping people. And so I just got hooked into kind of the healthcare space. And my first job was when I moved to California, was working for a regenerative medicine company. So a startup biotech company, and that got me into the skin and wound repair space. I helped develop all their branding, and the company eventually got sold. And I used that experience to go create an ad agency. And because of that experience, I had a lot of clients who were in the regenerative medicine, skin and wound repair space. And that's how I got introduced to this technology. Is the medical device company wanted to launch the active ingredient into the hospital space. So my agency helped develop all the marketing material and the strategy to bring it into the hospital side. When I started to learn about the molecule, started to understand the science, which I'll tell you guys about the molecule, I started to get this aha moment of, this is something that I'm using every day. And then I started to give it to friends, and I watched them use it every day. And I said, this has got a consumer play to it. It's at a digestible price point that should be in everybody's house. So I ended up selling my ad agency and went back to the medical device company, got the license for the technology and the formulation for this, and brought it over the counter to everyday consumers. And that was in 2017.
I think people don't understand, and maybe you can speak on this, how gnarly the burn unit is. I once was getting wheeled out of a hospital. I got my appendix out, and I asked the guy who was wheeling me out what the gnarliest thing he had seen at the hospital was. And he said, it's by far the burn unit. And a lot of people, he said, it's spilling hot water from pasta. Did you see the behind the scenes of that unit and saw how burns were affecting patients?
I did. Yeah. I've spent a lot of time in intensive care burn units. And you're right. I've been in a lot of different intensive care units, and the burn unit is a tough one, especially because there's a lot of kids in there a lot of times, and the burns are just so severe. And this is where so we were using this technology when we brought it into the hospital space in burn units quite a bit because of how gentle and how safe it is, but it also is helping make sure that those burn patients don't get infected. Because when they have that type of severity in burn, their body's really susceptible to infection. So you use hypochlorous acid to help maintain that skin integrity and keep it clean from infection.
What are maybe some of the largest common denominators that you see in the space that you're in that people don't realize when it comes to their skin, whether it's a wound or infection? What is the majority of things that go overlooked, and where someone could take this technology and maybe treat something?
Sure. So I think if you get a cut scrape, right, if you're talking about open skin right now and you're talking about how to heal, as an average everyday person, consumer, you're going to go into a pharmacy. What you find in a pharmacy is going to be that they're really terrible products. They're toxic products for the most part. It's going to be toxic antiseptics. It's going to be petroleum-based ointments, a lot of times used with synthetic antibiotics like a Neosporin. And I don't think what people understand is how toxic those products are. I've heard kind of in the non-toxic world, it's death by 1,000 cuts, right? It's kind of a pun here, but this is like a gigantic wound, right? So if you think about putting a toxic product on something that's an open skin, that's the last place you want to be putting petroleum and toxic ingredients. And so I don't think people realize when they're trying to heal these or keep their kids free from infection, what they're actually putting on their skin.
I think that I want to stay on this topic for a minute because there's a lot of moms listening who put petroleum, Vaseline on their kids' butt when they have a diaper rash.
Mhm.
And when I first had my first baby, I didn't know. I got like, whatever the diaper rash cream was, and I was putting it on. How bad is that to be putting on your, for lack of a better word, butthole, penis, or vagina?
Sure. I wouldn't do it to our daughter. In Europe, you can't do it. They don't allow petroleum-based skincare products.
Crazy.
So I think it's crazy that we still allow it, and
It's funny
how
you mentioned
widely
that.
used it is in the U.S.
Yeah,
still.
when we went over there and we brought our son, who at the time was like 1, and we forgot that stuff before we were educated about this stuff. And I was in the pharmacies looking for like, what do you use for diaper rash? And they were looking at me like I was strange because I was like trying to explain the stuff we use over here and they just didn't have it.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it at the time until you literally just said that.
And you have to think, I mean, God, a baby's like sensitive areas, that's the last place you want to be using toxic products on. So for us in bringing this kind of product to the market, it was a no-brainer, and you really feel like there's such a need in these kind of skin conditions where they're so sensitive in areas that are so prone to having toxic materials around them.
What is toxic about these things that you're mentioning? Like, why is petroleum? What is it? Petroleum? Is that how you call it?
It's oil, yeah, it's an oil-based product.
What is so toxic about it? Like,
It's oil.
why? But explain, if it's just to like a kindergartner, why this is not good for you.
Well, would you want to put petroleum, like oil, on top of your skin? It's just a toxic ingredient.
What's it called? Vaseline.
Vaseline.
That's one of the most popular things that people buy. Well, it's toxic.
It's toxic, and same thing with Neosporin is petroleum-based as well. They just coat in the synthetic antibiotics on top of petroleum.
One time in my younger, more less responsible days, I will say, I had a cut here on my fist. I won't say how, but anyways, it got so.
Oh no, we're gonna hear the whole family tree, the lineage.
But anyways, the knuckle's now missing. People can kind of piece it together. But anyways, I had this deep cut and went to the hospital, got it treated. Later, it got infected. And at the time, I was like, oh, well, like, it is what it is. But it got so bad, they gave me some kind of topical, like you're talking about, and it started traveling up my arm. And luckily, I caught it in time, but had to get like all these shots and antibiotics. And it was like, it got to the point where it was almost really dangerous because the infection started traveling up the arm. Luckily, I caught it. But it's funny you mentioned that because I've always wondered how it got infected, because as soon as it happened, I went to the ER and got all the stuff and, stitching and all that. But I remember having to put this like cream on it, and even with the cream, it traveled all the way up the arm.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that when you have a cut, it's a portal for infection. And if you get something like staph and it gets systemic, how serious that can be. On the hospital side, we used a lot in wound care centers with diabetic patients because diabetic patients are slower to heal because their immune system isn't able to get that blood flow down to the feet a lot of time. So you can use this product, this active ingredient, to help make sure that doesn't become a portal for infection. Some of the first times I used the product was I'm an avid surfer, so we would go on boat trips out into Indonesia, and if you get cut up on reef, that's a big way to get infected and ruin a trip as well.
Can't that stuff grow in you too? Yeah.
The reef can grow in you?
Yeah, if it gets in your skin, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's living, so.
Oh my God, that sounds like not fun.
No.
A lot of mothers listening, what are some ingredients that you, based on your experience, would avoid? What should we be looking for?
Well, I think when you're talking in terms of skin and wound repair first aid, I always tell people to stay away from synthetic antibiotics. So that's like a triple antibiotic ointment. And specifically, one of those synthetic antibiotics is neomycin. So neomycin, I think it's about 10 to 20% of people have an allergic reaction to that. So you get a lot of allergic reactions. That's why so many people have allergic reactions to like a Neosporin, is because of the neomycin. So always trying to stay away from the synthetic antibiotics is a recommendation that I have.
I just got non-toxic Band-Aids because I learned that in my deep dive that even the Band-Aids are toxic.
I heard that too.
And then when I got my epidural for my kids, my back like broke out because of the tape they used. It's like you just really have to be your own advocate when it comes to what you're putting on your body or your kid's body.
Yeah, and I think there is, especially in consumer health CPG products for like skin and wound repair, they're just archaic. A lot of them are just really old technologies that have been around for 70 years, but they're just not that safe. And so I think there's a lot of opportunities, which we saw, and we're bringing a non-toxic, clinically proven product to the market to replace those toxic products.
It's giving Dimetap, isn't it? Isn't it giving Dimetap? Dimetap is like an archaic syrup, and I feel like it needs evolution. I think what you're doing for this space is so important. I have actively tried in every area of my life since moving to Austin to make it as non-toxic as possible. And so when I came across this technology, I'm obsessed with it because it's something, like I told you off air, I can use on my entire family and not have to worry about it. And you're right. The industry does need sort of like a refresh. I think that you're doing it like Beekeepers Naturals with their cough syrup. It's like, it feels like old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think people now are realizing that some of this technology that we've created over the last 2-3 decades, like there's some harmful things that are in it. And I don't think people had ill intention. It's just the fact that, maybe we weren't as informed as we are now. What I love about these conversations is there's so many new companies coming with better alternatives. And the way I think about it is like, if there's a better way to do, like if you don't have to use a Neosporin, right? Or you don't have to use an antibiotic as a first step, and there's a place for that maybe, why would you not try the safer thing first and then go to like, we just nuke everything, especially in the medical spaces, if you know what I mean?
I think physicians tend to default pretty quickly to kind of maybe second line treatments like steroid ointments and stuff like that pretty quick without giving more safe and non-toxic options first to see if that.
So specifically, what does, and tell me if I say this wrong, hypochlorous acid do?
Let me try to say it too, since I mispronounce everything. Hypochlorous acid.
Hypochlorous acid. You got it.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also HOCl. So that's the molecular structure is HOCl. So hypochlorous acid is the same molecule your white blood cells produce. So if you get cut, scraped, burned, any type of skin damage, your body's immune response sends white blood cells to that injury. Inside the white blood cells is hypochlorous acid. So what's inside the active ingredient in our product is the same molecule that your white blood cells produce. Essentially, you're applying topically the same way your body works internally. That does 3 major things. It's a really powerful antimicrobial, so it kills 99.9% of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. It also helps reduce inflammation and speeds up the healing process. So unlike those toxic antiseptics, they kill bacteria, but they kill everything, right? It's just, you're nuking that. This product is, because it's innate to your immune system, there's no toxicity to it. So you're able to kill that bacteria, reduce that inflammatory response without having any of that toxicity or unneeded ingredients.
So does it accelerate your body's own immune response? Is that the way to think about it, or no?
The easiest way, so many of these issues are bacterial issues. So skin issues are bacteria. P. acne is a bacteria, right? When you're dealing with eczema type issues, a lot of times the flare-ups have some sort of staph issue, so it's a bacterial issue, or it's an inflammatory issue, like we were talking about bug bites. Bug bites, sunburns, those are inflammation. So what you're doing is you're applying topically the way that your body be working internally to address that foreign bacteria or that inflammatory response.
So
as he's talking, I'm thinking of like all the little like Towns has a paper cut, or Zaza has a bug bite, or like
kids.
I've used this on like my skin, but I'm also thinking, I just walked in and told you that I got microneedled with salmon semen, and so that's little tiny. Do you know what microneedling is?
I do.
Okay, some guys don't, but I got it all over my arms and my hands and my chest and my neck and my face, and I feel like.
Why do you have to call it salmon semen? Can you just call it exosomes?
No, it's salmon semen.
Yeah, I know, but
I want people who want to do it because I really like this salmon semen facial, and so I want to make it popular here. It's very popular in Korea. Okay. But I just sprayed this on my arm, and this is really weird. It like soothed it, and there's a lot of little open prick holes. Could I use it for that?
So we get a lot of estheticians who buy our product to use it for post-procedure aesthetics.
Can you believe that I did this the day before this podcast? It's like perfect.
Well, I meant to talk to you about this because I've been using your product, the topical one. Well, actually, I use the spray too with the
Oh
kids.
no, tell them about the cut.
Okay, but because I
Here we
had
go.
you can maybe see it
No
a
one
little
can
bit. There's
see
like a
it.
little dot right
It's
here.
a dot.
Now you can't see it, but I could see it for a long time. And it was weird. My son scratched my face just by accident. You know, he's 2 and he just like scratched.
It's a dot.
I didn't know it wasn't a dot. And I didn't think anything of it for a while. But it was like 4, 5, 6. It just like the wound would not close. It didn't bother me, but when I put something on it, so I went to the dermatologist. I was like, oh, why is this not closing? They said, hey, nothing to worry about, just a special kind of wound that's just taking a while. So I started using your product and it closed.
But here's the crazy thing. Before we wanted to interview you, he went on Amazon and Googled like best thing for cuts. And this product has like 55,000 fucking, so many reviews from people who are obsessed. And he comes to me and he's like, I'm going to order this. And I go, this is the product that I've been telling you about that I've been using on the kids.
Well, nothing would close this thing. And I don't know. And I couldn't tell, like maybe he like had something in his nail, but it just like it was irritating me and it wouldn't go away.
Do you know what my favorite part of this, Justin? He has one dot on his face, and I just microneedled my whole body with dots everywhere. But yes, okay.
No, but it was this weird, like, I don't know if anyone's ever had this on their face. It was like this weird thing that you couldn't really notice unless maybe you were me.
I'm sure someone will write in.
But like anytime, any kind of like certain like things that would sting, it would just feel, and I just feel it for like 6 months. I'm like, why the fuck is this thing not going away? And then I started using this and it closed up and now it's going. So in that process, what specifically did it do in order to close the wound that took so long to heal? That just wasn't healing, to be honest.
Yeah, so I don't know why it wasn't healing, but I can tell you the way that the molecule is going to help just facilitate that natural healing process for your body. So again, what your white blood cells would be doing internally, you're now applying topically. So you're just adding an enhancement to that healing process without. The difference too is if you put an antiseptic on it, you're going to kill all those healthy growth factors that your body is sitting there to help heal. You're going to kill the bacteria, but the growth factors. This product's not killing any of those growth factors that your body's helping heal. It could have been a bacterial issue that was causing it to stall healing a little bit, and it took care of that bacteria as well.
Yeah, I wonder if it was that in conjunction with like maybe the skincare products I was using was like it just kept irritating and it wouldn't let it stop because I was militant. But yeah, I mean, this is what I use. And then we mentioned earlier, like this is now what we use. One of the downsides of Texas, if there is a downside, is that there's a lot of mosquitoes and our kids just get destroyed. So we just spray it all over them because, they pick at those scabs.
It's funny, bug bites and sunburns are always because people, especially in the summertime, you're out in the sun a little, you don't want to get sunburned, but it happens, right? Or bug bites, same thing. And I always say use it active on that first and you'll be amazed because again, it goes to work right away. It's helping that inflammation that's making that bug bite itch or the sunburn be uncomfortable.
So as a mother, if our kid gets a cut, what are the steps that we should do? Like walk us through exactly the steps. Like, because my inclination like 2 years ago was run, get Neosporin, get a toxic Band-Aid. Like what should we be doing as mothers to support our kids in a non-toxic way?
Active skin repair is what I would recommend for putting on immediately to make sure. Immediately. Yep. Right after it happens because the great thing about kids is their immune system's just cranking, right?
Yeah.
So they'll heal pretty quickly. Okay. What you want to do is make sure you're keeping the wound clean. And so active skin repair will make sure that helps. I'd use a non-toxic Band-Aid if you're going to put a Band-Aid on it. The air also really helps heal quickly as well. So what's nice about being able to have the active spray with you is you can spray it multiple times a day. So if your kid's out playing and there's a chance that it did get dirty, that wound did get dirty, then you just spray it down and you can use it multiple times a day.
What about someone that has lesions in their mouth? And even like, let's get really granular. What if there's lesions on genitals? Like, no, some people are listening who have herpes, right? I mean, you probably have heard this.
This show's covered a lot of ground over the years.
Do you guys not think? Yeah, there's people like, so I want to know like for every area, every facet, can you use it everywhere?
You can use it on all parts of the body. We're only approved topically, so not orally, but you can use it everywhere. It's the same safety profile as saline solution. So I always say it really can do no harm. It can only help.
Okay.
We get customer service questions all the time where we have to Google it. We're like, what is that? And we're like, well, I don't know, but it can't hurt. And yes, things that are around lesions, open wounds, things that are around sensitive areas, this product is perfect for. The other thing is there's no sting to the product as well, which is really nice. It just feels like you're applying water or a hydrogel.
I saw, you sprayed it in and around your eyes. What can that potentially do?
Well, it gets used in optometry quite a bit as an eye and lid lash cleanser as well, because again, you're dealing with bacterial issues. It can create issues on the eyelid, and you have this great non-toxic antimicrobial that you can put around the eyes, which there's really nothing else out there like that.
As an entrepreneur, when you set out to build your company, what were the steps that you took to get a product to market? I think we have a lot of people who are listening that have an idea. What I like about your idea is it's very niche. It's very unique to the market. It's disrupting a category. What were the things that you looked at and how did you bring it to market?
Disrupting a category, but it was also a really dusty, unexciting category, because if you look, when we first started the company, you go and you walk in like a CVS or Rite Aid or Walgreens, right? That's kind of your default. If I need a first aid product or a skin and wound repair product, I'm going to go to a pharmacy. Most people go in there and you stand there and you go, they're terrible products, but it's all commoditized. It's owned by billion-dollar Johnson & Johnson, Procters & Gamble's of the world. And we just looked at it and we said, this isn't where we belong. This isn't what the type of product we want. It's not where we want to be. And so we had to get that bootstrappy entrepreneurial spirit in place. What I always want to build brands and work on products that are authentic to me and that I'm passionate about. And so the first area we actually launched the product in was the outdoor sports, action sports area. I'm an avid surfer and I was using it again on reef cuts and stuff like that. And so it just seemed authentic to us and where there's a high propensity to skin damage in action sports. So that seemed like a great authentic place for us to be. We ended up getting the product on the World Surf League. So they use it on all the medical tents on the professional tour on the World Surf League and got a adoption within that community. I think it was really, that's where we built the core in this kind of outdoor space. But all the athletes' wives just kept coming to us and saying, you're marketing to the wrong people. You should be marketing to us. And they were right. So around 3 years into the company, it was around 2020, we started to focus our shift more towards the family, to the mom. We call her the Whole Foods mom, the woman who's caring for a couple kids, but really values non-toxic living, is willing to be a little bit more educated in the ingredients and the products that they're using. And that's really where we caught momentum. Even more, we did a lot in building that non-toxic community, and we were pretty quick into the influencer space as well, and getting the product into influencers' hands who had that following, that trusted product recommendations, knew that they were doing their homework and learning about these ingredients, really helped us get the word out.
I think it's really smart when you're launching a business to know who you're talking to when you call it the Whole Foods mom. I think that's such an important takeaway for the audience if they are starting a business. I remember when I started the Skinny Confidential, I wrote out what the girl's name was, what nail polish color she's wearing, what she's listening to. You sort of build your customer. After you built who you were talking to, was there steps that you went and got a chemist, you went and got packaging? What were the steps that you did to get this to market?
So we were doing at the beginning, we were doing a licensing agreement using the formulation that we had launched into the hospitals, right? So,
which was so unique. The
science was already done. It already had all the clearances that it needed. The really cool thing about this molecule is it's got a ton of clinical research. So there's over 100 peer-reviewed medical journals on the molecule, how it works, and all these different things. So we had a robust amount of all the kind of things in place to prove the efficacy, to prove the technology. Then it was about building awareness, kind of back to the entrepreneurial thing. I think one of the things I tried to do is you get the right people on the bus and then kind of figure out where you're going. So got a couple really good partners and employees to help kind of figure out where the product was resonating, where we would really see traction. And again, going back is getting it into the influencer's hands and building that awareness in that non-toxic community.
What are some applications that you've found that maybe people aren't, like obviously cuts and wounds, but what are some things that you've seen your customers use this for that may not come first to mind when thinking about this?
You said eczema, so you can use it on eczema. Can you use it on perioral dermatitis?
Mm-hmm.
Like
So any type of atopic dermatitis, it gets used a lot.
chickenpox?
We joke, if the chickenpox it's not going to help the chickenpox itself, but if it's going to help if there's any open areas from the scratching,
Got it.
especially to reduce scarring. So it can help there. I joke, I call it the WD-40 of skin repair because you can just use it everywhere on everything, on every part of the body.
Will it heal scars or will it help to heal scars? Or is it just for open active wounds?
So where it's not going to help if the dermal layer of the skin's already healed and there's that scar tissue's there. It's not going to help then. But where it really helps is if you use it before the wound has closed, because the faster you heal that wound, the less scarring there's going to be. So a lot of times people don't realize this is a great post-surgical product that you can be using after dermatology procedures, after med spa procedures, it gets used. There's a lot of people using it post-workout as a facial cleanser. It's
interesting.
Again, a really safe, non-toxic spray that you can just apply after a workout.
What are some big mistakes that you're seeing people do when it comes to any kind of wound healing, big or small?
Wound healing, it's very age dependent. I think as we get older, our bodies don't heal as fast, especially if there's any underlying chronic issues there. So I think in an older population, people don't take wounds as seriously as they should, and they are portals for infection. So these wounds can become chronic, and especially if you have underlying conditions like diabetes, they can lead to amputations pretty quickly. And it's surprising how and upsetting how many amputations there are a year because of diabetic wounds. So I would say elder population. For younger, for all humans, I guess, I think we just move too quickly to nuke whatever that issue is and throw toxic products on it when it's just really not needed. And I think you have a lot of people who really care a lot about what they're putting in their body, the skincare products that they're using. But then when it comes into like skin health, skin repair issues, they're really not looking at ingredients. When again, that's an area I'd be really cognizant of what I'm putting on in my body, because it's getting directly into an open area.
We have a lot of audience members that are obsessed with skin. Talk to us about acne.
Mm-hmm.
Can we use this on acne, and how should we use it, and how should we be taking care of acne?
So it's a powerful antimicrobial. It kills P. acne. So it's getting a lot, and you can go on TikTok and look up hypochlorous acid. You can go on CBS, just published an online thing calling it an acne hack. So there's a lot of people starting to use it exactly for those types of issues like acne, and as a daily facial product.
Explain to us, you've said the word staph a lot. To me, that word gives me severe anxiety. And maybe you could speak more eloquently on this, but I've heard that sometimes you can even go to a hospital and contract
Isn't
staph.
that where most people get it, right?
Like, can you tell us more about staph and how none of us, everyone who's listening will never get it? What's the takeaway for that?
So it's a bacteria that's a more complex bacteria to kill. And usually when there's serious infections, it's staph or MRSA that's involved. So a product like this is great at being able to protect against a foreign bacteria like staph. If you do get a staph infection systemically, though, it's really important. You do need to go to the hospital. It's usually something that they have to treat with an oral antibiotic, but you don't want to get it, right? So you want to be able to use products. Like you were saying, this product gets used a lot in surgical procedures to help reduce the chance of a surgical site infection, which is a lot of times where people are getting
So
these
for example,
infections.
like when I got stitches in my hand, if I would have used this after and just sprayed, it would have been maybe less chance of infection during that time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, good thing I learned about it 20 years later.
I think
Well, it's not too late now.
I think too, this is so interesting for people doing plastic surgery.
Yep.
Like, I feel like there's a lot of people who are doing liposuction or boob jobs or whatever they're doing to their face with filler, Botox. I think that would be a good one to have on your medical shelf.
It is, and it's being much more widely used. Surgical site infection's a big buzzword and something that obviously every physician and hospital is trying to avoid. So this is a great product in their toolkit to stop that chance of happening.
What do you wish that people understood more about this specific molecule?
I guess the versatility of it, I
Yeah.
would say. I think when you can realize how it's so cool that you can harness the power of your body, right? And that you have something that's innate to your immune system. And so when you think about all that, the ways that that can work, it's just such a versatile product that can be used on everyday things. And I don't think people kind of think about it as, oh, it gets used in an intensive care unit, so I'll wait until something, bad happens, but it can work on everyday issues that I just don't think people realize how versatile the molecule is yet.
What I'm realizing through doing this podcast, through talking to so many experts who are non-toxic experts in different areas, is that the body knows what it's supposed to do, but no one gives it air to let it do what it needs to do. It's almost like we suffocate our body so it can't do what it, like I had someone on that was saying, like, if you get a headache, that's a sign that there's something going on. Instead of taking an Advil, you should figure out what that headache is coming from and eliminate that. If you get a bladder infection, that's your body telling you something's off. And it's kind of to what you're saying. It's like we don't give our body the space to sort of heal.
It's such the body's brilliant, right?
Yeah.
So if we can harness that power, if we can replicate what that body's doing, that's the way I'd want to be able to treat a condition. The great thing too is in that versatility, it's just the simplicity of it as well, is that you guys both have kids, so you get the skin issues with little kids are, I want my daughter to be out there playing around. I don't want her to get cut and scraped, but it's going to happen, right? And you're going to get too much sun every once in a while. You're going to get bug bites. So to have everything in this little bottle that can work on all these different things just gives you simplicity as well. So versatility and simplicity.
So if you, like, for example, if we do a skincare routine, I see you have a hydrating serum, but I've been using, I've been using the topical one,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been using it with skincare. Is that okay as like a first layer?
Yes, absolutely. And we usually tell people, even with for baby care stuff and dealing with diaper rashes and anything that you're already using a topical ointment for, if you're using a balm or something like that, keep using it. If it's working, keep using it. This is a product that does something a little bit different. One is it's addressing the bacteria and inflammation, not just as a moisturizer. Use it first. So the molecule takes about 15 seconds to be absorbed and kill all that bacteria. So you just need about 15 seconds. So you apply it, give it 15 seconds, and then you can apply the rest of your skincare products that you're using.
So which one, because I want to switch something with my diaper routine, which one would you use for the diaper? The spray?
So the spray, you can use the spray or the gel. The nice thing about the spray is if the rash is bad, you don't have to touch it. So you can spray.
That feels also cleaner for the baby.
Yeah, I agree.
So you just spray.
Yep.
Yeah, you just spray.
Spray, give it 15 seconds. You can kind of let it air out for a second. And you've known that rash is being caused because of a bacterial issue, right? So you're helping address the inflammation from the rash and also the bacterial issue that's going on.
You are building a massive company that's really unique, like I said, disruptive. You are married and you have a daughter. How are you managing all of this?
Managing?
Yeah, how do you balance it all?
Yeah. Again, I think what's cool is I came from using this as an athlete, right? And now I'm using it as my product as a father. So I feel like it's kind of just, I'm living the product now, and it's allowed me a way to be authentic, to understand how it's being used in all these different kid issues. And like my family's here, my wife's and daughter are with me here in Austin. So I kind of take the circus along with me, and the balance is just through kind of taking every day and as being authentic and as true to the person I can be.
What should our audience start with? I personally, I'll give mine after.
Okay. I always like the spray. For me, that's it's usually a preference between the spray and the gel. I should say they all have the same active ingredient, right? So everything's using hypochlorous acid as the active ingredient. They're all going to work the same. The kids and the baby spray are actually the same as the normal spray that we have. We just kept getting asked all the time, can I use this on my baby? Can I use this on my kids? So we figured we just needed to create packaging that said it was safe to use for babies in the conditions that it can use. The gel is a hydrogel, so no petroleum based, which is great. And it can kind of, if I have a deeper cut or something, I'll probably use the hydrogel, but as an everyday facial product, I would use the spray.
I personally am going to tell every single person to buy the spray. That's what I'm already sending this. I have a friend who has oral eruptions, which is open sores in her mouth. I want her to spray this in her mouth. I'm going to use this in my diaper routine. I'm going to use this on my daughter's bug bites. I'm going to use this if there's any herpes that Michael gives me from the whorehouse. I'm just kidding.
That damn whorehouse.
I'm just kidding. On Michael's herpes, not mine.
Listen, at this point, if I got him, you got him too, buddy. It's been a minute.
But I think that there's so many different ways to use it. That's why we wanted to invite you on, and we wanted to spread the message that every single person needs to try this molecule. I'm obsessed with finding stuff like this. We had the founder of a brand that he's all about hydrogen, and he came on and told us how important hydrogen is. We also had another founder of a company that told us all about these like sea minerals from France that are amazing electrolytes. Like, I love finding products like this that I can wholeheartedly stand behind and recommend to the audience. And there's so many ways to use them. And I love the fact that it's so safe that you can literally use it on a baby's butt.
And let's be honest, it's a good thing we found it, because if my face fell off, this whole operation would fall apart. So you saved the show.
Yeah. So do we have a code?
We do.
Okay. Code skinny. Let's use code skinny. You guys, I would definitely start with the spray. I feel like that's the one that you're all going to love. Don't sleep on the hydrating serum either though. But the spray is it. I have like 10 bottles of this at my house. And Justin, where can everyone shop, find you, say hello, Instagram handle?
So it's activeskinrepair.com.
Okay.
And then same thing, Instagram with a /activeskinrepair.
You know, too, go on Amazon and see all the 55,000 5-star reviews, and you can see why we wanted you to come on the podcast. Like, this is changing people's experience with getting hurt.
I rely on my wife for all these things to tell me what to do. As I'm sure a lot of men, and you guys have figured out that's the demo to
Before
speak
me,
to.
he was drinking Windex.
But listen, I was
eating Crest every day, like swallowing Listerine. I could go on and on.
Hanging out in whorehouses.
I got the next thing I'm working on. If anyone is listening, the next thing I'm working on, can you invent this, is a non-toxic hairspray. That's the only thing I haven't got him on. I've got him on everything else but the hair. And he sprays the hairspray like it's like his face is back,
no
like he's like
today.
in a fast car. It's like so much hairspray.
I'm gonna start.
But if you are going to be using one thing that's non-toxic, probably that in the hair area would not be the worst.
Justin, don't justify his behavior.
Yes,
we got to get rid of the hairspray. Does anyone have any
my
tips?
hypocrisy
Let me know.
go so far, but no. And I rely on her to tell me about this stuff. And I was complaining to her about the cut on my face for 9 months. And about 9 months in, she's like, we have active skin repair. And I was like, well, why didn't you tell me this for 9 months? I could have solved this 9 months ago.
And that's why we figured that we had to change our audience to the women, because they're the ones who know.
Because I was just running around.
So throw away your Neosporin, get rid of your Dimetap, Active Skin Repair. Thank you for coming on the podcast. That was so much fun.
Thank you for having me.